2, 3, 4. Do, 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 do. Pow, pow, pow. All right, we're rolling. It's Freedom Phil out in the wasteland. And the topic right now is AI overview really just a piece of cancer? I'm just saying, because it's not AI. And I want to talk about this obsession with AI these days. Because everybody's, kind of been huffing a lot of these farts. And I'm going to be real about it. Most of what you see are just programs. They're scrape tools. I'm not seeing Johnny5 out there. I'm not seeing any sort of real, actual like sentience or anything. Where am I going with this? This is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. And hey, turn up the video speed. And why do I say that? Because, dude, watch videos faster. After I upload this, you should watch it at 1.75. That's why the channel's called Turn Up the Video Speed. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. It's like this. I regularly hear people talking about AI. AI is the future. AI is the future. And like, this is okay. What I hear is new buzzword. This reminds me of the dot-com bubble and so many other things where they're like, we're working with synergies or whatever the hell the buzzword is at the time, the fashion trend in business that they talk about. And when I look up something, I'm not saying that AI overview is horrible, but it does slow down the experience. It does. And I think to myself, how much electricity, how much data, how much everything are you using just to scrape a bunch of different articles? And the preferred articles, that's actually the problem I have with part of the problems I have with AI overview. Not only are you slowing down my phone, but you're kind of curtailing the things that you want me to see. So in some cases, I could say that instead of actually going to their websites, AI overview will just answer the question good enough to do it. But a lot of times, AI overview gets the fucking answer wrong. Like you're playing a video game and you ask what elemental power works particularly well against a particular boss, and it guesses the wrong fucking thing. Why? Because some crap written on Reddit or some other place or wherever they got it from. And by the way, let me tell you one of the problems with a lot of the websites. I'm sorry, but if I have to have an ad blocker to deal with your damn website, your website is shit, okay? If I'm trying to read something and in the middle of it, pop up, and then it's like, and it moves where the text is, I'm sorry, but like that's fucking shit. So to some degree, I could see AI overview actually being kind of useful, but all this AI, artificial intelligence, that's a bold claim. No, this is a scraping, a research app. This is a research program. It's not even, it's not AI in the very least sense. It's just a skimming thing. It's there to skim off the parts you're looking for and hopefully find them. It's kind of cool. Probably makes things a lot easier in the same way that these days, let's be honest about it. I mean, watch some of these videos online where the whole channel is effectively a robot channel. And look, piece of advice for the robot channels. If you're going to be talking about some way of building, some traditional like Nordic structure or whatever, some traditional wisdom, off-grid information, we don't need an hour for that. Of a bunch of the repetitive story about, well, and they were laughing at the person when they were doing it, but they wouldn't be laughing for long. And it's like, I turn up the video speed partially for these type of videos. Like at max, that video should be no more than 30 minutes, preferably 20 minutes to convey the information. But maybe, who knows, the more time people spend watching it, the more money they get. I don't fucking know how that works. I just know that a lot of these AI videos, it is interesting to see more information getting out there. So someone picks a topic, they use a robot, like ChatGPT or some shit like that, to go out and then skim over the information, and they proofread their work, have it make a video with the AI robot voice that actually sounds normal. I'll give them credit for that. That's gotten a lot better. But still, it's not artificial intelligence. It's literally someone using a skim bot, a skim program to go through and get the proper information and add all these facts in there and then have a chat, a chat bot basically build this. And then bada bing, bada boom, you've got the setup for a video. But all the same, this is not AI, because at the end of the day, as much of this crap as you set it up to do, you still need someone to set it up. You still need some things to program it. And yeah, you could argue some of this stuff is just putting out, a lot of it's slop content. There is a lot of fucking slop out there. And then the AI art. It's still just a program. It is not a robot thinking for itself what art should look like. Yeah, it's a tool. And arguably, you could argue even original art. Pen and paper are tools instead of us, making cave paintings. So, like the ability to make clay and whatnot and form it into some sort of statue or something. That is a tool. What we're seeing with AI art is the same thing. People, I'm sorry, furries, people that got, like you're working on DeviantArt or um, what's it called, Rule 34, taking sponsors to make some sort of furry art. I'm sorry your job is going the way of the dodo. I guess you'll have to learn how to flip a hamburger because it turns out people will jerk off just the same to, the AI robot art with an extra finger. Don't think people don't notice, like the tail in the wrong place. Um, yeah, what's kind of funny, kind of cool about it is you'll see like modern events and they'll be done in like anime or they'll be done in The Simpsons. They show like the situation going on in like Minneapolis and it'll be like done with the Simpsons characters or South Park characters, which that should get you thinking. You remember back in the day when everybody's like, well, if you're not working with computers, you're just gonna go the way of the dodo. Well, it turns out now a lot of your so-called, once there's an art style, even Studio Ghibli, once there's an art style out there, effectively, once it's been copied enough times, there's no reason for an artist. There's just the artist that's going to proofread the shit. They're going to go over it and look at it and go, okay, this looks good enough. Okay, we need to clean that up. So they clean up that part. And you got a whole ass episode of whatever you wanted to watch. Now, this should be much like with the journalism careers, just like I was saying earlier about the videos, like, the traditional wisdom or, off-grid stuff, whatever content you're into, there's somebody making an AI version of that. And that's the kind of thing where we're going to start seeing more and more stories. And I've seen some of them out there, like sci-fi or, sword and board magic, might and magic type of stuff. I enjoy a good story every once in a while. And you see these stories and you realize these things can so easily be generated now. I've even seen like, particular genre rage bait type of stuff, and you look at it and you go, is this real or is this just being AI generated? With, you add in the parameters and then you have it still kind of take up, what it's supposed to do and write it up and then you proofread it and then add a voice bot. So on one side, you're going to have a world where for a while we don't have AI. We don't. At least in the public sphere, we don't have actual AI. We have better programs than we had just a few years ago. And every decade, the programs get better and better. But what I'd argue we do have is the ability for the average person to go out there and just build their dreams. Like you could go out there and if you had an idea for, an anime, a mystical sort of situation, it just was a handful of years ago that guys in the ulterior spheres, like I happen to be a man going my own way. And so I watched some of the classic content producers, which most of them have really switched. They're still at the core, MGTOW. But they've really gone more over to then what? Because that's really where all of us were kind of working our way to eventually, at least the ones that weren't grifting. It's like, okay, well, the world kind of sucks. Let's just move on and do something else. And as, say, for instance, Gamergate happened, slowly but surely, people just realized we can't count on the original media. We can't count on Marvel or DC or the games community or anything. We're going to have to make our own content. We're going to have to make our own anime. We're going to have to be the creators of our own thing. And therefore, in this modern age, we have gotten to a world where we can unlock the genius that a lot of people actually have in their head. That if you want to tell a story and it's a good enough story, people can actually go out and not only write it down and have it as a voice, like an audiobook, but we can now have the pictures for it. And it wasn't that long ago where you would have had to hire, and I'm sorry, artists, you would have had to hire a bunch of people, to draw the characters, make the art, and then basically make a comic book, the printing, all this. We've gotten to a world where digitally we can do this so much fucking easier. So much easier. And so I guess what would come into the question is, what'll happen is the world will be filled with far more slop. Because now that everybody can do it, what'll be actually more valuable is a unique kind of art style, a unique sort of something. And it'll be just like music, the old saying, Nothing dies quicker than a sound. Like whatever sound was the hot, popular thing briefly, well, it was popular for however many months, maybe a year. Maybe it became a trend for a year or so. And then eventually, just like any other sound, any other thing, it was then. Now we're moving on to now. And the future is now is always the future. Keep on going, keep on moving forward. That sound, that style, if you were on the cusp of it and you made some money, cool. I think one of the things we could kind of lament to some degree is before this, we could actually extend the life of a lot of things a lot longer because it wasn't so easy for everybody to do it. But on the other hand, isn't it cool that we can actually forge our dreams into reality? So while back to the whole concept of AI, we are not in AI yet. We just have far better programs than we used to have just a short time ago. And I don't know. The only thing I find annoying about it is a lot of times the AI overview gets it wrong. Or it's like literally choking, you're trying to look something up and you're in a thin data area and it basically decides, it's like it's slowing down your experience of the internet for something you didn't even really ask it to do. And the other problem is like, well, how do you turn off this shit? Like every update, like the joke about what is it, Windows or whatever, you hear these people and they're like, yep, every time the update happens, now I got to retune my microphones. There's a lot of shit that people didn't ask for, and that's actually where I see some people, where it comes to the updates, the constant need, bigger computer, bigger this, and they're like, some people just say, I'm going to Linux. And they're like, well, what do you mean Linux? They're going to Linux because their older computer works just fine and does all the same things they were doing before, even better and faster with Linux. So I think you're going to kind of see most people are too lazy to go to Linux. Let's just be honest about that. Most people are just going to whatever slop comes before them. So when they're told that the AI is, this is AI, well, I'm telling you, this isn't Johnny5. This is not the Terminator. This isn't even some sort of sci-fi robot that talks to you and has thoughts. It's literally just a program that skims over and gives you the most banal, generic view. Like you ask it a question and would require some sort of human interaction, like a little sarcasm, a little like humor, and it gives you almost like a Star Trek Next Generation data style answer. Well, actually, the thing of blah, blah, blah is, and it's like, I'm sorry, but that's not life. Like Data, you could see was a living thing, thinking, asking questions. The AI that they currently call AI overview or whatever version of it, it's just a scraping program to get, to gather information, to try to give you an answer and to try to give you the safe Google approved answer. Same thing with Grok. It's just a scraping tool. And sometimes, and this is the thing I think people really look at, when the answers are easy and not offensive, it'll give you the answer. But when the answer seems a little politically coded, surprise, surprise, you go to one version of the AI and it'll give you this version of the answer, and you go to the next one and it'll magically not give you it. And isn't that interesting? It's the same problem that Google's had for years, where effectively, if they don't like what you're saying, you get pushed all the way down to the bottom of whatever. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. Everybody's telling me that AI is here, but I'm saying we still got a long ways to go. And who knows, maybe in 5, 10, 15 years, we'll have robots that actually can have a conversation. And maybe that'll actually help people, in the case of like, you have a robot maid / sex bot / waifu that does the things at home. People could have relationships. And for people to say, well, that's ridiculous, that's dystopian. Is it? Is it really? You're already spending how much time watching TV, watching the internet, listening to the music on the radio. You already spend how much time not interacting with other people. When AI actually gets here, why would that be such an offensive thing that the AI would probably be a better conversation than most of your friends and family? Let's be real about it. How many friends and family or people that as you get older, you kind of drift apart, and then occasionally you might get together once or twice a year. Like I remember one of my buddies, it's pretty cool. Him and his dad and his friends, about once a year, they'd all get together and they'd go to a particular fishing area. One year it'd be where this salmon run was, and another year it'd be where this other salmon run was. And that was their big thing, and that was refreshing to see that bros from high school could still do that. But for the most part, most people, you got a few friends you hang out with that are kind of around where you're at, and you got your family, and you have your major family events, for instance. But past that, everybody's kind of their own isolated thing. So unless you're an extremely close family unit, friend unit, city culture, unless you're, like that kind of culture we used to have, you know, before TV, before the radio, before that, that's fucking long gone. And TV kind of replaced a lot of interactions and people. Take it even further, now the internet is far more entertaining than TV for the most part for a lot of people. I actually like old school airwave TV. So yeah, we are becoming more individualistic. So when AI actually really gets here, you got to wonder what it's going to, are we really going to desire human relationships as much as we claim to do? Or are we going to see it? We're going to say it's dystopian, but is it going to be more convenient to have someone that you can actually have a good time with that isn't a pain in the ass? So, like I said, AI overview is anything but AI. But we're slowly making our way there, and it's a changing world. So, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, take it easy.